Close and resolve concerns. You guys, as you're going through the process of getting this information in front of other people, you want to test to see if somebody's ready to just get started. And that simply can be the question, is as you're going through the information, what do you like best? Are you ready to get started?
Yes.
Are you excited about this? They say yes. You're ready to get it in your body, integrate it into your health strategy.
Yeah. I mean, when you're saying that, I have visions of, when I'm talking to people and they're interested, they're excited, and I'm like, I know, I'm so excited for you. Should we get this put in for you right now so that you can get it in your body in the next 3 to 5 days? If I have some on hand, of course, I'll help get them started in that aspect, but also with the business. If they're like Rolodexing people and they're talking about the excitement, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just like I was. Let's get you started. You're having fun with it. You're being true to yourself. You're not having this weird moment. It's like, are you ready to get started?
Yeah. And as soon as somebody tells you yes, get them into the system.
Right.
You don't have to keep explaining it. You don't have to keep going because you didn't tell them about NRF1 pathway,
right,
and they were excited when you got to NRF2.
Right.
Think about it like this. Like if you were going to buy a car and you go to the car lot and you know exactly the model, the make, the color, the options that you want, and you tell the salesman, hey, I want to buy this car.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden he's like, but I want to tell you about the glove box. And then I want to tell you about the trunk, or I want to tell you about the self-parking feature. And you don't care about those things. You already know what you want. You're going to eventually leave if they don't honor that you want to get started.
Right.
So, think of your
really
business
good.
like that too, that when somebody's ready to get started, we want to get them in the system as soon as possible.
Absolutely. And, I've been guilty of it, and I've seen it happen time and time again. And sometimes it's hard to ask that question.
Right.
Are you ready to get started? Right. It's just something that isn't something that you do on a daily basis. You are now, because you're going to become a professional at it, because it's how we bless people's lives, right? We want these products in their body. We want them, if they want the business, to start enjoying the benefits of this insane business. But asking that question is a big deal. Yes.
And help each other out too. When we're using third-party validation, which is extremely important to use as you're building the business. But it's a lot easier for me to ask somebody else's friends and family when we're introducing the information, hey, are you ready to get started? You ready to build the business together? Things like that, that it might feel a little bit more uncomfortable for you asking, your personal contacts if they're ready to get started, and asking them for that credit card information.
Yeah.
It's easier for a third party usually to do that.
I'm thinking of a recent Zoom that I was on. There were a few of us on actually with this guest, and she was super excited. And one of the leaders in our organization said to her, oh my gosh, you're so excited. Are you ready to get started today? And it was so great, because the person that brought her on was, sitting back and listening and learning, and then she said, are you ready to get started today? And then the guest that was on was like, yeah, I am. And it was just so fun, and it was so beautiful. But I love what you're saying. And even you guys, with Shawn and I being elite pro 9s in the company, we still use that third-party validation almost every single time, as often as we can, to get them to speak with somebody else, and then they can make that question, or they can have that question go to them. Are you ready to get started? Because then you're sitting back and you're like, oh, that's nice.
So ask that question a lot. Are you ready to get started?
Yes.
And just test throughout the process if they're ready to get started, and when they are, you get them in the system. Now, if they tell you no, what are we doing at that point?
Well,
so
you just
you ready to
ask
get
some
started?
more questions. Yeah, am I ready to get started? Well, I was just really curious about X, Y, Z. So find out, what their hesitations are. What are their concerns, if they have any? Or do they need to, talk with a spouse? Or do they need, whatever it is, ask that question. And just be open and listen, and then ask another question.
Right. So ask the question to find out what the objection, why they're not ready to get started.
Yep.
And then I would further ask to then understand what they need to remove that from a barrier, remove that concern. So, for example, if somebody said, well, I want to check the science out more.
Yes, if I want to check the science out more, awesome. So are you looking at the Protandim Nerf 2 or the whole vitality stack? Asking the question, what type of science? And then how much do they really want and need? Right. So if it is Protandim, hey, how about I get you the top 3 studies that I think that you're going to be excited about, with the things that you've told me in the past. Does that work? asking those questions again. And hey, do you like to learn through, YouTube videos? Do you like to read? And, do you want the full study, or is the abstract going to be good for you? So finding out exactly what they need.
Yep.
And then again, setting up a follow-up, but remember, time to follow up with them in regards to the information that you've sent them.
Yeah, and what I would also do is take it a step further is once you have that objection laid out, is then asking them, okay, besides that, besides needing a little bit more science, is there anything else holding you back from getting started today? Right. And get all those objections laid out up front, and it'll be easier to deal with then the next time that you follow up to say, okay, we talked about X, Y, and Z. We delivered this to you. Did you go through it? Now are you ready to get started? Right. And you're going to have objections like, I don't have enough time. Yep. Or, I'm too busy.
There's this thing called Feel Felt Found, and if you read Eric Worre's book of GoPro and, other different trainings out there, you're going to hear of it. So always, number one, be true to who you are and what your stories are and other stories that, that you may borrow. So what I mean by that is if you say, I just don't have enough time. Well, I can say, oh my gosh, I totally know how you feel. I felt the same way, but here's what I found. I found that, we were crazy busy, but I could do this in the nooks and the crannies. I was so insanely passionate about what this was. So, I'd be on Facebook and I would see somebody say something and I'd quick message them, or I'd quick call and be like, oh my gosh, you got to watch the ABC Investigative Report, and so, or driving to work and listening to one of the trainings, or, all that. It's the nooks and the crannies. And what that ended up doing was us being able to bring my incredible husband home, just in 9 months after we first enrolled. So it's just all of that. Or I know how you feel. I felt the same way. But what I found was, we weren't going to do this business because we didn't have the time. We didn't have any clue what this whole network marketing thing really was. But we saw these products. We knew that everybody needed it. But Carrie Williams kept coming to us saying that, the convention's in 2 weeks. You should really go. You should really go. And I kept saying, you know what? We just don't have the time. We just got into this. We're not looking to build this as a big business. These events are important. But she said it'll cut 6 to 12 months off your learning curve. And I said, holy cow, okay, let's go. And so we went, and my vision completely expanded. I saw how we could go out and bless so many different lives. And because of that, she completely changed our life.
And every concern, you guys, that somebody has, it is a valid concern.
Yes,
it might not
absolutely.
be a valid concern to you,
right.
But to them, it's something that we do need to tell them that we validate it, that we get it, and then offer a solution for it.
Offer a solution.
That's the biggest thing, and that's why that feel, felt, found technique is important to use. But once you get to the point that you're more natural with it, all you're really doing is validating that yes, it is a concern. I understand that it's a concern for you, and here's how we get around that barrier.
Yes.
And the great thing about all of this is you don't have to be the expert at it right away.
Totally.
Again, because you're building this business with other people, and we've become experts at addressing the concerns, finding out what they are, and offering solutions to it. So you're going to see, as we're building this business with you, exactly how we answer people's questions, how we address it, how we ask for that close, and get people to the end result of a yes, no.
Totally. And you guys, you can borrow the stories too. I'm not in your place. I've got time. I've got all this. But what I can tell you is my friend lived exactly what you're living and totally can understand what you're talking about. I've actually heard her say many of the things that you're mentioning right now. Let's call her up.
Yes.
And then we get the two of them on the phone together, and then they can hear, what did you do about this? And this is how you felt. Yeah, okay, well, then what happened from that point on?
Cool. So throughout the process, we really want to make sure that you're checking to see if they're ready to move forward.
Yes.
And then if they're not, we're laying out all of the barriers at once.
Yes.
And then asking them if there's any more, and really, really use the approach if besides X, Y, and Z, is there anything else holding you back from getting started today? And then once we've addressed those concerns, following up and making sure that we have a scheduled time for them to go through any of the information or any of the materials that we're sending them to go look at to address those concerns.
Yes.
And then when we follow up again, we start the process over as far as checking to see, are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
If not, addressing the concerns again.
Yep. And having fun with them, you guys, and being excited and being okay and meeting them where they are. You know, totally meeting them where they are and maintaining your posture through all of this. And, you know, one thing that I was told early on is, you know, think like a Pro 10. And what that really means is in the back of your head, building that conviction and ownership and understanding that you don't need them, right? You don't need them. They truly and honestly do need you because this is such a gift in all ways. But when you first get started, sometimes it's like, oh, you just, like I said earlier, you feel like you just want everybody to join and just to grow. But when you are addressing them and what they need, you don't need it. You are there to help them with the process. And it, again, it makes sense, as we said earlier in the invite, when they come in.